There are other tribes that play a game similar to this, but they might only use one stick or have a much larger cup, more like a lacrosse. But the style that we play is very similar to one another, so that's what we want to talk about today. We're going to demonstrate that. And this game is an ancient sport. It goes way back. One of the earliest European writings about this game was in 1729. But our legends, our stories go back a lot further than that. And so this game is known by many tribes as the little brother of war. An all-out war could be to the people. And so a lot of times when there were disputes between the different groups over hunting lands, hunting areas, or trails, then they would settle it by playing this game. Now, it's called Little Brother of War, so there weren't as many casualties. And I say that because there were casualties in this game. It was a very rough sport, and a person had to be very fit to play. And so we're going to talk a little about that because it's a very important part in our history and in our culture. And anyone who has played the game, they will tell you that there's something special about playing because it connects us directly with our ancestors. It connects us with our grandparents and their grandparents and their grandparents, and it collectively connects us all together as a people. So in our Choctaw language, there's two ways that we refer to this sport, this game. One is called kapucha, which literally means sticks. So the sticks that they're holding up here are made out of hickory. And then another name for the game is called Stickball, which means to hit, and it's referring to hitting the goalpost with the ball. So, a game days, there were no rules. There was only one rule, and that was you couldn't touch the ball with your hands. You always had to pick the ball up with the sticks. Now, today, cultures change, times change. We have tournaments now, and there are some regulations about tackling and how rough the sport is. So, but in the old days, it was like a free-for-all. When that first toss-up went, then it was an all-out brawl. And it depended on how many people were playing as to how far the goals were apart. So you may not even be near the ball, but you might find yourself in battle in a wrestling match, or getting run over, or getting tackled or something. But today, with tournament rules, you can only tackle the person who has the ball. So there's, safety reasons and insurance and all that kind of stuff. Kind of changed the sport a little bit into a tournament sport, but that's good. I mean, times change, things do change, necessity changes things, but this game continues on. So I want to talk a little bit about the sticks, because in the old times, in the old days, this was a rite of passage to be able to play. A person didn't just decide, I want to play stickball, because you were going to be playing for your people. You were going to be representing your people. You were going to be fighting for those hunting rights and those trails, and you were going to be fighting for national pride. So it wasn't something that you just, casually said, oh yeah, I'll play. It was something that took preparation. And the preparation began by going out into the forest and finding the right tree to harvest. So, like I said, these are made out of hickory. Now, if you know anything about trees and hickory trees, they're full of knots. So you had to go out and select a tree, and you would look at the bark and make sure that there's no internal knots. And you could tell by the grain of the bark how straight it is. And sometimes there would be like blemishes in the bark. So you knew inside there would be a blemish, whether it was a knot or something had injured that tree at some point in its growth. And so that wouldn't make a very good pair of sticks. That would be a weak spot. And sometimes, you know, like I said, times change. So with modern tools, modern equipment, they are able to utilize those kinds of sticks. And so some of these sticks you might see there may be a knot in it somewhere on the handles. But in the old days when they would make them, that's where it began, was finding the right. The farther the goals would be spread apart. And so if you've ever seen a painting by George Catlin from the 1830s, he depicts a picture of the game of stickball, and you see hundreds of players out there. And so there could be hundreds of people playing all after a ball like that little one I just showed you. So there's a lot that takes place. And those of you who were here a little bit early saw how the players here were scrambling for the ball and how they were trying to pick it up and kind of pushing each other, trying to get to it. Imagine that 100 times fold, you know, that many people trying to get that little ball. And, you know, when the official would throw the ball in the air, there would literally be, you know, 100 people trying to catch that little ball. And again, remember, the rule was you couldn't touch it with your hands. Now, some groups, some tribes, they do still have ceremonies around their games, and women do play with the men. And in those games, the women can touch the ball with their hands. They don't use the sticks. They play with their hands. To me, that's kind of dangerous to stick your hand in there when all these sticks are coming together. Because even if you have sticks, one of the main casualty are your knuckles. Mm-hmm. Now, when we play, you get a group of people in there trying to pick the ball up, and everybody's swatting and hitting each other's sticks, and it creates a lot of action there. So, but the women would pick up the ball, and they would throw it up, and there usually would be a mark below the effigy, and if they hit above that mark, then that would count as a score. Now, as we get ready, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go outside here in just a minute. But I wanted to share that with you because, again, this connects us with our past. This is who we are as people, as Choctaw people, as Cherokee people, as Seminoles, as Chickasaws and Creeks. We play this game because it connects us to our past. And as we get ready to go outside, I want to talk a little bit about the techniques that you'll need to know once we get out there. If the wind's kind of blowing, it's kind of hard to hear, so I want to share these techniques with you. Oops, the handles are round. Ours, it cups only at one end, but some tribes, it's folded, and then the cup is made by tightening the leather around the loop. So there's some differences in that. And then the way you want to pick the ball up is hold the sticks is in the front of the cup, the leather comes over the top. So you want to have the two cups coming together where the leather meets. Okay? Sometimes people hold it backwards and it makes it harder to pick up the ball. But you want to make sure that the two cups come together. And then the second thing is catching the ball. So if you can envision an alligator's mouth, and your alligator is, they snap their cups together like that. Let's see if we can get it. Okay, so that's how you would catch it. It might take a little more practice, but that's what you would do is you would have them close together so that when that ball gets there, you snap the cups together, and that's how you catch it. So the goal and you wanted to make a fast shot, then you could hold them side by side, and when you throw it, you pull them apart, and it gives it that extra fling there. So, but